Hey, it's Dave Redelberger here from the Schottenstein Center and Nationwide Arena, checking out my good friend. There he is, Gary the Arena Guy.
Hey, how are you, Dave?
I'm doing good, thanks. Hey, we've been doing our check-ins every week, and you're one of the few coworkers I actually get to see face to kind of face as close as it gets these days anyway. So
Yeah.
I thought we'd take some time maybe this week and kind of, for the people that are, fans of our podcast, all 15 of them, the people that listen.
Way more than that.
I know. But the people that enjoy that, I thought we'd kind of talk a little bit more at length this week about kind of, what's been going on at the arenas and going on with us too.
Absolutely. You mentioned we kind of are seeing each other face to face. We haven't literally seen each other face to face since Dan and Shay on March 8th.
Oh, I got to tell you, it was a really fun night. It was the last night of they considered it their first show of the tour because it opened up in Nashville, but that was their hometown. So they said, We finally feel like we're on the road. And they were so excited that night. And it ended up being the last night of the tour for them.
It was their first and last night outside of Nashville of their first arena tour ever. So we hold distinction. Now that's a trivia question. What act opened and closed their first arena at Nationwide Arena?
It was such a fun night. I'm not even really super familiar with those guys, but I tell you, when they hit the stage, I was like, wow, it was great. It was an awesome show.
It really was. We had almost 14,000 people singing along to every word of their hits. And they had, when you see an act in concert, sometimes you forget how many hits they've actually had, but they've had a whole bunch. But the last 3 or 4 or 5 have been huge.
Right.
But, when you have any act in a whole arena sings along to their songs, it's really magical. And I felt that night also.
It was one of those nights, right? It's one of those nights where you see a band and you're a bigger fan of them after you see them, for sure. And that definitely felt that way.
And it was really the first show that we did where we started hearing things like social distancing and some of the other stuff, some of the phrases that are now part of our vocabulary, I guess you'd say, we're kind of starting about that time.
Yeah.
There was never a fear, I don't think, that the show wasn't going to happen, but it just was all starting to snowball.
Yeah, the next week was when the NBA incident happened and that kind of stuff. And it's just been a wild run. Hey, before we get too much further, I got to ask, what am I looking at there behind you? Is that your vinyl collection?
Yeah, I'm a collector. But yes, I love vinyl. And Record Store Day, which already got postponed, but is one of my favorite days. So I have probably about 12,000 albums.
Wow.
And not counting 45, 78 CDs, any of that. So I have these down in my basement now, and I just love it. I'm just.
Are they all organized? Are they all like alphabetized? What's your system?
I'd say I am a true vinyl junkie, yes, because I divide them by genre.
I
have my own system. Not everyone would do it the same way. And maybe some shows, sometimes some podcasts could be how we argue which category certain artists go in.
Oh, I spend so much time thinking about that. I used to anyway.
I know. And I spend a lot of time. And then I realize this is my collection for me. Who am I going to argue with? I divide them by genre and then alphabetize them that way. And I love having a complete library, even of music that I would really never listen to, like the Sounds of Hawaii or something. I love just having a complete library of just about everything.
That's great. It's so much fun. I
love I'm paying tribute to the one, the only Philip Phillips today, the P Squared.
Philip Phillips, nice.
I'm honoring him today. Why? I have no idea.
So Philip Phillips is part of the American Idol family, right? And I know you are the biggest American Idol fan I know.
I love American Idol.
But they're changing it right this season, isn't they? Didn't I see something in the news like they're going to do the contest from home or something?
Yeah, it's really strange. The coronavirus has changed so many things, including television. Obviously late night TV is all different. They all do it from their homes, all the hosts. And now live shows like The Masked Singer. The thing about The Masked Singer is they taped it so far in advance, but they're doing some after shows now where they're at their homes. And now American Idol, this next Sunday, all the acts will be at their homes all over the country. and they will be performing in their homes. So America, for the first time, will not be voting on these performers from a wonderful soundstage with great lighting and a great band and a great setup. They'll be doing it from their living room or wherever. So it'll be very interesting, and I'm curious to see how that will turn out. But they want to keep on going. They don't want to halt the competition.
It's great. I got to tell you, as a media junkie, I'm kind of loving this opportunity to kind of see people's houses, right?
Yeah.
Like when Elton John did the performance for the One World thing, and he's playing this beautiful baby grand piano, I think, in his driveway with a basketball hoop behind him and some basketballs on the ground.
Two basketballs for his two boys. And funny story about that is that at that home, he's got several homes, he did not have a piano in that home. So earlier that day, that piano was delivered and they put it at the end of the driveway, and he decided to do it out there. The lighting was better and all that. So that's why you saw the basketball hoop and everything. And I'm sure they probably staged the basketball hoop to make it a little more homey, but he actually his driveway.
That's awesome.
I know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Kind of joking about Philip Phillips, but I'm actually a Philip Phillips fan. As you know, he opened for John Mayer about 2 or 3 times ago when he played Columbus.
Yeah.
And we had a chance to say hi to him, and a cool guy, and I was happy to meet him, and that's when I got the hat. But I was kind of making light there, but I actually think he's very talented.
Yeah, it's a great live performer. So
yeah.
Hey, while I'm talking about Elton, I want to say that I had a chance to revisit Rocket Man. It's on the pay cable channels now, and one of the things that on a rewatch of it that I really notice is that I can let go of all the inaccuracies. Right. All the things that you and I've talked about in our podcast, where the song's out of order and this not really super factual. When I have rewatched it, I find that I just kind of enjoy the music, and I just kind of enjoy the feeling of it. It's been great.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm full disclosure, everyone who remotely knows me knows that I'm a diehard Elton fan, like you're a diehard Prince fan. But I enjoyed it the first time and found it to be very emotional, because it is a very emotional movie. But I had trouble getting past all of the blatant inaccuracies. Some of the songs being out of order, I didn't mind so much because it helped advance the story. But when they put songs from 1973 in the 1970 first American performance, that kind of bothered me, like Crocodile Rock. And that's,
sure.
But same thing. And I haven't seen it since the theaters. I saw it 3 times in the theaters. But each time I found it as good or maybe even better. And like you, I saw other things. And one conclusion I had was that I'm guessing that in time, this will be a straight to Broadway type production as well, because with all the choreography.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's very musical, of course, but a lot of biopics, it's like this happened and this happened and this happened. And this was more of a certain segment of his life. And they went back a little bit, but it wasn't that structured. It was more, they called it musical fantasy. And I thought it was brilliant the way they put it together. Once I got past some of the inaccuracies, like John and his name being named after John Lennon, which is so false.
Just unnecessary, right?
But anyway.
Hey, you mentioned Prince, so I gotta bring it up. Did you see the Prince Grammy tribute the other night?
I sure did. Oh, by the way, you're going to talk about Elton. I was going to trade hats. There we go.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Hey, before I let Elton go too, before we get to the Prince, put on the Elton hat for a minute. On Spotify yesterday, I tripped across this great Elton John live album, right? Because one of the things without concerts, I've been enjoying a lot of live music. And a topic for a future call is best live albums. I'm going to make that note, right?
Okay, yeah.
But
that's a good topic.
I found this great Elton John live album, Elton John Live from Moscow in like 1979. It's just him and the percussionist Ray Cooper. Just so Elton on the piano, and it's very sparse of instrumentation, but wow, that's a great album. It kind of slipped under the radar.
Yeah, well, it did, and not surprisingly so, because it was a very limited release, and it was for last year's Record Store Day. So it was not a wide release. And I don't think you can find it in a regular record store now, unless it's like in the used section or an import section. Although I think the CD is out. But I went to my favorite used record store in Columbus, and there are several good ones, but Used Kid Records.
Plug.
I went there. I didn't go there for years because I thought they were Sesame Street and Disney albums being sold there. But, but anyway, I went to Record Store Day, and there's a long line. It would be even longer today with social distancing. But by the time I got to the Elton John section, they were all sold out of that album. And I knew that each record store was only getting a handful of them. So I was looking around, and, you know, I was really disappointed. And as you can tell, I love vinyl. And I started looking through Tony Bennett. And there in the middle of Tony Bennett was the Live in Moscow album. So I have a feeling somebody put it there because they still wanted to look around or something, tried to hide it. I may have stolen it from them. Sorry. But
it's yours now.
That's mine now, and I love it. And ironically, that was the first Elton John concert I ever saw, not in Moscow, but that same tour, but the U.S. version in Chicago. And I was going to Illinois State University at the time. It was my freshman year, and oddly enough, two other guys on my floor were huge Elton fans. And so he's playing the auditorium theater as opposed to the arenas that he'd been playing for all the previous years. And so they had a lottery, 2 shows, and the theater is like 3,000 seats or something. We got picked, and we had front row seats for the best show I ever saw. Elton just at the piano. So he did a lot of the songs that he hadn't done live with the band because it's better suited for the piano. Ray Cooper on percussion. And it was hard to match that. All my Elton shows that I see now is kind of measured against that show because that was very cool. And then saw the second night, but it was in the balcony the second night too. And that was very cool. Later that night, Ray Cooper signed my program. So he was signing, there's a group of people, and I held it above the crowd. He grabbed it, signed it, and as he's handing it back, somebody grabbed it. And I said, no, that's mine. And Ray grabbed it away from the guy, scolded the guy, and handed it back to me. So about a year and a half ago, I went to Las Vegas because I'd never seen the Elton Vegas show. And I ran into Ray Cooper, I wish Elton, but Ray Cooper at the Caesars Palace shopping mall, and ran into him, and he signed the most recent program for me. So it kind of went full circle.
Very nice.
Story to a great album, and it really is good. And it's really down to the basics.
And this would have been this weekend, right? Would have been the Elton John show.
Yeah, and it's just. Yeah, and then I saw earlier this morning that his remainder of his 2020 dates have been postponed into 2021. So, you know, we're so looking forward to that. And he'll be back.
Yep.
It's just hard to think, oh, my gosh, this weekend we would have been seeing this show.
Right. We sat together the last one. It was a lot of fun, and definitely looking forward to getting that show rescheduled and being able to share those details. Hey,
you and I don't get a chance to watch too many shows. You know, sit down, and you and I watch most of that show together, and both being big music fans, and you know, and you're an Elton fan, I'm a Prince fan, but when we watched it together, and it was just really a rare opportunity. It was really special. I had chills the whole time.
Yeah, I get chills now thinking about it too.
I know.
Hey, you mentioned Prince, right? So let's go back to that one. We'll switch it back hats.
I wish I had Prince hat.
Wasn't it great to actually see live music on a big stage again?
It really was, and you know that was recorded after the Grammy Awards. So, Jules the arena dog has made an entrance.
Jules.
Just curious what's going on down here. It really was cool. So, you know, a lot of these live shows on TV were recorded before all this happened. And so it was recorded. I don't remember. Was it recorded maybe before they do that thing before the Grammys or right after? But
it's the day after, a day or two after.
And last year was Elton, I think. And then this year is Prince. So you and I being both Prince and Elton fans, that's kind of cool. But it really was great. You know, you saw some of the people really associated with Prince, you know, Sheila E. and Morris Day, some of those, and then other artists that had some sort of a history with him or admired him. And I thought it was really good. What do you think?
You know, and you know this, when you're a huge fan of somebody, right, and anybody covers their music, you're almost protective of it, right? Yeah. And nobody does it as well as Prince, right? There's just, you know, that's just how it goes. But that said, I enjoy the celebration of his music. I loved Foo Fighters. My only complaint would be really, I wish they would have taken one of his, you know, or maybe a couple of his Grammy performances from over the years. Showed those. That's the one thing I thought was missing. I would like to have had more Prince. And some of those,
they showed a clip, didn't they?
They did. They showed a clip from, like, you know, him performing in the 80s, and you're like, I want to see. I haven't seen that since '84. I would love to see that again. So
Yeah, well, nothing compares to Prince.
it was good stuff. Hey,
and actually, I love John Legend, and he's an Ohio native, and he's been at our arenas. But I kind of felt like that performance was maybe not one of the best.
You know, John Legend has been on every show.
Everything.
Right? He's been on every single show, and God bless him. I'm always happy to see John on TV. So
he's a super nice guy and incredibly talented.
My quick John Legend story, right? We're at John Legend is it's a John Legend Schott double bill at the Schottenstein Center. And John Legend, we were bringing him we're giving him a basketball jersey because he's a huge Ohio State fan. And it's the one time that I've given somebody a jersey that was a size too small. Right?
Oh,
he was just a little, I pictured him a smaller guy, right? So we got him a jersey, and it was just like a medium, and it probably should have been a large, right? Because he's a little more ripped than expected. And so he's like, oh, I'm so excited. And then he goes to put it on, and he really struggles to get it on, right? But he puts it on, and he poses for the picture, and he's like, well, I'm going to give this to my kids.
He's a great guy and just super talented. You're right. He's been on every benefit. He's done concerts from his living room. He's been on every late night talk show. Good exposure for him during all this. And it really shows the magnitude of his talent that he can perform that way and sound so great all the time.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of great live performances, let's talk a little bit about BCS, Buckeye Country Superfest.
Yeah.
We just announced that it's not happening this year, and can't wait for that to come back too. But boy, that's a tough one, right? Losing BCS this year, that was going to be a lot of fun.
Tough. It's one of the highlights of every year. I mean, the artists that we have, where else do you get like 5 acts on one stage in one evening of that magnitude? I mean, it's just so much fun to work. There's so much energy in the crowd, and it just was disappointing that it's the way of the world. I mean, nobody could control it. It's nobody's fault, but it's disappointing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so but let's talk about some good things, right? Give me one of your favorite BCS memories.
I loved George Strait last year. Have to be honest.
Oh wow, wasn't he great?
Yeah, I loved Keith Urban when I think somebody had like a Keith sign of his head or in the crowd or something. I might be forgetting that, but I don't know. I liked when Urban Meyer came up on stage and presented jerseys to Kenny, I believe, Kenny Chesney. Was that right?
It came out, and then he came out with Rascal Flatts.
Oh, Rascal Flatts.
Yeah, Rascal Flatts, and had the big trophy with him and stuff. That was so cool. And when Keith Urban, when he kind of like waded into the crowd, right, and he's kind of on what would be the 50-yard line of Ohio Stadium, and he's standing there. Just can't wait to get back to Ohio Stadium and doing some big shows there. And I can tell you, there's stuff in the works that we're excited about.
I know. Already in the works for 2022. But think of all the great artists that have played in BCS. George Strait, Blake Shelton, Miranda Lambert. I shouldn't put them two together, I guess. Keith Urban, Takeover. Who else have we had?
Florida Georgia Line. Zach Brown Band. Zach Brown Band was one of my favorites. They're such a great live band, and it's a special time when you have those shows at the Shoe. They are special nights. But hey, I know we're running short on time. Before I let you go, this week is the anniversary, the 4-year anniversary, I believe, of another great country music moment here in Columbus, Ohio, the historic run of Garth Brooks shows at the Schottenstein Center. He did 6 shows. This is the 4-year anniversary of the second weekend of shows. Prince had passed away, and Trisha did a big tribute to Prince on stage. But it was another weekend of run of Garth shows, and boy, for people that were at any one of those shows, what a special little run that was.
How cool is that? It was 2 weekends in a row. Garth spent a lot of time in Columbus. He spent a lot of time on campus. He played softball with his crew across the street from the Schott, and he visited some local restaurants. And I still think that rivals the best concerts, among the best concerts I've ever seen. He's just an incredible live performer. And it was, how many of those shows did I see? I probably saw 6 of them, parts at least, but most of all of them, and they were just phenomenal. And then they when Trisha Yearwood came in and she performed Prince in tribute, that was so fresh in everyone. And even though they're country, Prince is music, without boundaries, and everybody loves him, and you just got chills. It was very emotional.
Now, speaking of getting emotional, this would also be the 4-year anniversary of your epic onstage failure.
Yeah. I was wondering if you would bring that up.
How could I not, right? So for those who don't know, give us the Reader's Digest version.
The Reader's Digest version was that Garth and his people were very thrilled with us, the arena, the Schottenstein Center, and they gave us the opportunity to shoot off confetti cannon guns during the proper spot in Friends at Low Places.
Yeah, they were almost like bazookas, right? That you got to swing over your shoulder and carry them.
Yeah, and so I think I was on one of the last nights. It was night 5 or 6, I don't remember, but and everybody did it perfectly. And we're wearing Garth T-shirts and a black Garth hat, and of course, leave it to the arena guy, who, if you watch any of the arena guy videos, isn't good at anything, and it's all real. I'm truly not good at anything. I apparently did not listen to the instructions, and the instructions were to aim the gun at what, 45-degree angle, I think.
Yep. Don't shoot the cowboy.
Don't shoot the cowboy, and turn off the safety switch. And I did all of that right, except when it came time to shoot, everyone else's gun is going off, confetti's going on the crowd is going nuts, and I'm sweating, and I'm probably more pale than I've ever been in my life. And I was standing next to Garth, one of the biggest star in the world.
On stage in front of like 15, 17,000 people.
I know. And you know how you got in trouble as a kid, and one of your parents, they didn't have to say a word, but they just gave you a look, and you just felt so bad because that was worse than anything they could have said. Garth, the nicest guy in the world, also nicest entertainer in the world, gave me this look, and oh my God, I felt horrible. And he leaned over, he turned the switch, and then I shot it, and it went off, and then he high-fived me, and with a big smile on his face, and then I walked off the stage in shame as the cameras were following me on the big, and they're showing it on the big video screens, and leave it to our coworkers. They captured the moment on video quite nicely, and I've never forgotten it. If you're dying to see it, it's on YouTube or on the Arena Guy Facebook page.
You should, yes, I think definitely always worth checking out. It was just crazy. I'll never forget that feeling of walking on stage in the middle of Friends in Low Places, and they were just like, there's a step, don't trip, and all of a sudden you're there on stage and standing next to Garth Brooks, getting ready to fire a giant cannon. One of the coolest moments of my career.
And you did it so perfectly, and people got a great shot of you. I believe you're next to Garth, right?
Yeah.
And you're shooting it, and they got this picture of confetti coming out, and you just look, it's the perfect shot.
It is. It's very cool.
Going off, and it could have been better. And then so I'm jealous of that picture.
Hey, I love sharing these great memories with you, and obviously we can't wait to create a lot more there at the Schottenstein Center, Nationwide Arena, and Ohio Stadium. Before I let you go, one of the things, and we've been talking every week, is hitting some different community needs, and last week you mentioned one that I think is worth mentioning again with the Children's Hunger Alliance.
Yes, children'shungeralliance.org. And, there are a lot of people who are experiencing some seriously challenging times because of the coronavirus. And we feel for all of them, whether it's through a job or someone you care about is ill, or you personally are affected by it. Anyone who's affected by it in any way, we're thinking of you. And we also send our respect to all the frontline workers and the people who are helping everyone out, the health care workers and all that. But there's a real need for food. The food pantries are being depleted because of the demand. And go to the website, share it with us.
Yeah, children'shungeralliance.org.
Children'shungeralliance.org. Sorry. But
hey, it's a
seriously,
great cause, yeah.
Yeah, a great cause, and help out if you can.
And we get some other great stuff in the works that we'll tell you about in coming weeks as well. So, Arena Guy, I know you're doing some fun stuff on social. Where can people find you?
Just Facebook on the Arena, at just the Arena Guy on Facebook, Twitter @_the Arena Guy. One of the things that I'm doing, you're doing a lot of cool stuff on the Schott Nationwide pages. So much fun. I'm posting some of the great live performances. Since we don't have live music in the arenas, I'm picking out some of my favorite live performances from the past on my page.
That's great. Hey, so good to talk to you.
Same here.
And we'll do this again here soon. So take care and stay safe, my friend.
Let's do it again next week. You stay safe, and I hope to see you in person one day.
Can't wait.